Mark, I know it's crunch time for Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Are we really ready to kick off before Chan, comes up?
Thanks, Paul. Welcome back from Mr. It is a crunch week in every sense of the word, because once we get this week done, we are going into May, June, and July. So effectively, there will be 90 days of cutthroat work, because we have to get this thing right. And I know that there are definitive meetings happening in Kenya as we speak, as well as Uganda. The local organizing committee is sitting on Friday for some very, very fundamental decisions which are going to shape the direction of the next 90 days ahead of kickoff mark for the opening ceremony. The ongoing discussions will tell us whether Uganda will host the opening ceremony or Tanzania, because by the look of things, I think Kenya, having hosted the draw for Chan, are not going to be part of either the opening ceremony or the closing final. So it does look like one of Uganda or Tanzania will host the opening ceremony, and then one of Uganda or Tanzania will be hosting the final of Chan. But also there are issues to do with budgets regarding all the various committees, Mark. Communications, be it marketing, branding, signage, funds, interests, hospitality, security, medical, transport, and all the various committees. I did know that I think government did release some money for the Chan to the tune of, I think, well, some good couple of millions of dollars. So this is a definitive week mark in every sense, and a couple of things to be tied up before we get into the thick of the last preparations of Chan.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. If you ask me, for Chan, for Uganda, I'd rather we hosted the final than the opening ceremony. And for AFCON, I wouldn't mind having the opening ceremony in 2027.
Yeah.
The reason I prefer the final is that Chan, because it is so close to the tournament,
Yes.
and there are definitely going to be logistical issues at the beginning, towards the start. Not logistical in a sense as to what do you have here, what do you have there. Just last minute patching up of things. Every once in a while, when a region like us that hasn't hosted a tournament like this for a long time, you can never say you're 100% ready. Certain things will shock you about how somehow you overlooked them, or you didn't prepare as well for them as you thought so, or you didn't equip manpower or infrastructure as well as you thought. So so it's tough. I am not saying Uganda is not good enough. I am just saying that I think when you let a tournament grow and people grow into the football itself, that football on the pitch takes over from any other hitches there might be.
Yeah.
Mark has experience of this. He was in Brazil,
yes.
where there were so many issues before kickoff of the World Cup in 2014. And we were together with him in South Africa before the kickoff of 2010. There were so many issues,
There was a lot of negativity,
Yes.
bad publicity about both tournaments. But when
the football starts, it takes over.
It
takes over. So the climax of Chan, especially since we know that it's not going to have the top attractions of our foreign-based players on the continent, the ones who are playing Europe and are such big draws, it might be tough to start the tournament. I hope it isn't, because we have work to do. I, for example, I meant to be on the Spectators Services and Fans Experience Committee. And so we have work to do between now and kickoff to actually ensure that every East African is buying in. And so they're interested.
And not just East African, every visitor.
Every visitor, that they're buying in, they're interested in turning on the TV or walking to the stadium. So there's work to do, and along with all the committees. I mean, Mark's committee, they're very vital. They're central to everything, being media and communication. But and that work we will do. Everybody will do. I mean, there's so many guys, so many experts at so many things on those committees. The thing though is that under those circumstances, if we got the final a month from kickoff, you would think that Uganda, there will be better attraction and more preparation and everything. But for AFCON, Yeah, but for AFCON in 2027,
and I think
I wouldn't mind an opening match in Nambole. Yes,
and I think
absolutely.
Mark,
Yes, absolutely. And the world will be focused on
thankfully, Mark,
Africa anyway.
And thankfully, we're both on the local organizing committee, which is why Mark to Mark is the place to be if you're following Chan and Pamoja. Mark, one of the things that the local organizing committee must not underlook is the experiences of, say, other federations which have hosted international events. I'll give you an example. In 2017, Uganda hosted the World Cross Country Championships.
Yes.
At Kololo, and we had athletes from 61 countries and officials from the IAF. You had Lord Sebastian Coe, who was here. Lord Seb was one of the greatest athletes at the time. Was I think the IAF president and various other dignitaries. Actually, that's the one time when President Museveni arrived at a sports event on time and stayed there for 7 hours. At Kololo.
Yes.
I was there, I can't forget. He arrived there with the First Lady. He arrived, didn't arrive on time, arrived in time and sat through that event for 7.5 hours. That time when Joshua Cheptegei infamously capitulated towards the end in the men's senior kilometers. But there were lessons to learn because that event was broadcast globally.
Yes.
All over the world. It was live.
Yes.
And how to get those small details right ahead of kickoff, things which you may not expect until the very day. And listen, the difference between Chan and say the World Athletics Championships was that this was a one-day event. So you had a 1 year or 2 or 3 years to get that one day right because being beamed all over the world.
Yes.
For us, we have a month to get it right. But even though we have a month, we need to get everything right on the opening day.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
you don't want to start off on the wrong note, in as much as you can get it right on day 2, 3, 4, and 5. So all the, I mean, the event, if it's going to be in Uganda, it must be spectacular. It must be an event which is going to be spoken about for ages, in terms of the choreography, whatever theme you choose. I mean, in Angola, if it's going to be a night event, or the lighting, and all these details, they must be right.
The lighting, the performers.
The performers.
All those things must be right. And it starts from before we even get there.
Oh, yes.
Just for example, the handling of traffic.
Very important.
There are certain things you might take for granted thinking you're ready. And then on that day, teams are at different hotels. You have VIPs in Serena. You have participating teams on the opening day in different hotels. Maybe say one is at 4 points at the Sheraton.
Or one is at Chigo. Yeah. I mean, whichever.
And then you have, like I said, you have CAF and what's Serena. You have other VIPs at the Sheraton and whatever. And then you think that you've mapped out your routes well. And for example, there's a presidential convoy going to a totally different something.
Oh, yes.
That's one. Or there are traffic jams somewhere along the way, or there's rain in Kampala. So there's simple things.
You have to plan for all these eventualities, because in London 2012, when we were there for the Olympics, there was the Olympic lane, so it didn't matter
whether it rained,
whether it rained or the convoy. There was that lane which was designated for only Olympic cars.
Yes.
So London is an old city, and it typically suffers all the challenges of most old cities in the world, traffic jam and the roads are narrow. But that lane was always free
for the Olympics.
There are no buses, there were no taxis, no black cabs, nothing.
Yeah.
It was always available. So it managed to, at least for we who were the delegates, because I was an accredited journalist, we never had issues. That bus lane was always free.
It was free, yeah.
Now, for events like, let's say, the World Cup in Qatar, even in Russia, there is a rink outside the stadium where only ticket-bearing fans can access the stadium premises. It can even go as far as 100 meters from the stadium, but you must have a ticket. Without it, you can't access that area within the stadium. So I'm giving an example that some of the things must be gotten absolutely right in time.
You
don't get a scenario where you have someone who has no ticket and he's within 50 meters of the stadium. What is he doing there?
Yeah, when I went
have a question.
to the Olympics in Beijing, 2008. Now Beijing is a city of over 20 million people. I mean, it's the population of
Well,
certain
that was
countries.
then probably. Right?
Yeah,
Now it's
might
probably
even be 50.
Let's
Yeah,
go
maybe
now.
in the
Yeah, now Beijing, is the population of certain countries, and one of the things they had done is they had restricted the movement of vehicles coming into Beijing from the locals, the home people. They would say from UAA to UAC, take Monday. USD to UAH can only come into town on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And for the whole month it was
Yeah.
like that. So because they had to cut by up to a tenth of
Yes.
the kind of traffic they usually have in
Yes.
the city of Beijing, so they could have roads free for Olympians. But can you imagine? Do you know how many roads are in Beijing?
I mean, they're one of the best road networks in the world.
One of the best road networks in the
Very,
world is actually
very,
in
very
China.
advanced city. So in
So,
China,
so you can imagine if all those highways and all those flyovers were empty,
yeah, I mean,
just for
yeah,
Olympians.
so you can imagine.
It's
So
crazy.
when it
Yeah.
comes to the stadium, is there any possibility of doing like a dry run before, or even that is
Yeah.
not there at all?
You
Yeah,
know, the
you
opportunity
must.
is
You must.
you must do a dry run.
You must do, yeah.
The
You definitely
processes.
have dry runs, and then in addition, even for the opening ceremony,
Yes.
actually for just about each and every event, there are fire drills, there are emergency drills
Yes,
in the event
yeah.
of a stadium fire or a stadium tragedy.
Yeah.
You must do a dry run for everything, because what we see on TV for the Olympics, for the FIFA World Cup, for all these major global events, for even AFCONs, they don't do them successfully by chance.
No.
They plan for
No.
each and everything.
No.
Planning, because when you plan very well, you're going to avert any potential danger, any potential mishap. When you don't plan, when you don't put in all the time to prepare, then you're walking in harm's way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. That was it on Chan.